So when we're dealing with these hardnesses, we really have to think about the fact that those composites and those golds, those softer mid-level materials are going to be less hard than enamel and porcelain. So much of dental materials is not only understanding the chemical properties that are at play, but of course how they function in the mouth. And that's why hardness is so important. So let's also talk a little bit about elasticity. So elasticity is the ability of a material to rebound from a deformation. You squish it and it comes back. So a rubber band, you pull it all the way back, it's going to return to its original shape after being stretched. That's what elasticity is. And of course, if we think about some of those other forms of matter, something like glass, which we talked about, it has terrible elasticity. If a glass is stretched, it obviously will not return to its original shape. It's brittle, it's going to break. So why do we want elasticity? So its application is really has to do with impression materials because we need those materials that form around the teeth to stretch to get into all of those details, but it won't necessarily distort its original shape. So we need the material to be able to go around and stretch enough to be able to get around the teeth, but then we don't want it to necessarily um, change anything else. So let's also talk a little bit about stiffness, okay? So this is really the only time we use this term is it means that it doesn't deform. Okay, so stiffness and elasticity, I really want you to think of as two sides of the same coin. And again, one of the reasons why there's so many objectives is because you almost need to break down all of these key words into little categories and which ones sort of match and go hand in hand. And stiffness and elasticity go together. So this is the opposite of elasticity. So, of course, we would want stiffness in something like a crown. You want them to maintain their shape. Once we create the shape that is that person's tooth, we don't want it to stretch. We don't want it to change. We don't want it to deform over time. So that's when stiffness becomes positive. So elasticity is something we want, to be able to bend and then bend back. Where stiffness, we want to pick a shape and stick with it.